Okie dokies, we're live. That's kind of funky. Okay, here's hoping. Alright guys, hello. Welcome to another stream video by yours truly. Hoping that this one actually works, because look, it can be a bit stuttery and choppy. Hopefully we can get through this. Just waiting for things to even out a bit, because I have dropped a few frames per second, so we'll see if I can fix this. So bear with me a sec while I just figure something out. Okay, might be a bit choppy, but I'm going to try and go slow and see if we can get this done. So the topic of today is looking at firewalls in Windows, because even I have fallen afoul of this. I'm going to show you what I mean in a second. But when you use Crowdrender, obviously you want to be able to connect multiple computers together to be able to distribute rendering and make it faster. One of the biggest blockers to that is when you, for some reason, can't connect. And this particular issue happened to me while I was doing some tests for a new version that's coming out. So I just want to go over exactly how this happened to me and explain it and show you how you can troubleshoot. Because if you don't get any connection at all happening, so if you get like, well, I'll just show you. Let's just say, you see here, I tried to connect to this machine called Ryzen Ninja here, and you can see it just says failed to connect. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So I pressed the little button up here. So by the way, I've already typed in Ryzen Ninja, which is the name of this PC behind me, and I'm working on my Mac, which is struggling a bit because it's trying to stream at the same time as it's running Blender, and that seems to be something it doesn't particularly like doing. So I've typed in the host name of the PC, and then I'm going to press this little connect chain, and it's found the IP address. So this should in theory work if everything's going okay, because it's automatically found the IP address for the PC. So that's a good thing. Alright, so now I'm going to press OK. And we're just going to wait. Takes about 30 seconds to time out. And by time out, I mean we usually wait about 30 seconds to see if the connection is going to happen, and after that time we give up, and we should basically show a notification down in the notifications area saying, hey, this didn't work. And then this should also show a status of failed to connect. Okay, there you go. You can see down there, there's the notification popped up, couldn't connect to Ryzen Ninja, and we've got that status there. So what does this mean exactly? It means that my Mac got no response at all from the PC when it requested to connect. So we're going to go over to the PC now, and I'm going to show you what I found when this happened to me, and hopefully this is going to help you guys troubleshoot as well. So this is the PC. I'm just going to switch to that myself. So just give me 1 second to switch my monitor over so I can see what you guys can see. So I've got Blender running here, and one of the first things I do check, by the way, is to make sure the port numbers are the same. So what I mean is this number here, 9669, should match with this one. So I'm going to go and so I'm just going to switch back temporarily to the Mac. So this number should match. I open preferences, go to the Crowdrender add-on, and I'm going to check the same number here. And it's 9669. This is kind of like a channel or an address, which they both need to have the same number for. So it doesn't really matter what number you use, but it has to be the same one across all your machines. Otherwise, this just won't work. You won't get a connect. All right, I'm going to switch back to the PC now, and we're going to troubleshoot why the PC did not connect at all. So here we are back on the PC. So we verified that the port numbers are the same, so it's not that. So the next thing to do is to look at the firewall. So I'm just going to type in firewall into the Cortana searchy thing. I just press the Windows key and type firewall. And I can see my private network is active. I actually want to go to advanced settings though, because that just helps me see a bit more about what's going on. So I can see my private profile is active. Now one thing you can do is you can turn the firewall off to test if it's the firewall. Because by default, I think your Windows firewall is going to block incoming connections, which means my Mac, which is in front of me right here, it cannot send a message to the Windows PC unless the Windows PC allows it. So that's very important to understand. So I'm going to check inbound rules, because basically this here is telling me that inbound connections that don't match a rule are blocked. So unless there's a rule in here which lets this traffic through, it's not going to work. So let's go in here and expand it. Definitely going to check what this nonsense is. Allow 9009, but that's for me to figure out later, because I like to make sure I know what all the rules in here are, because this is potentially a security issue. It's allowing my computer to accept incoming messages from basically any program can accept this message, and it looks like it's just allowed itself a port number. So to read this, this is basically saying there's a rule, it's called allow 9009, that's just the name. Any network profile, so if I go back to here, oh no, I've got that open twice. Let me just back up a bit. So you have different network profiles, you've got domain, private and public, and whichever one is active, that's the rule that will be used. So you can see here all profiles. So this entry here, which looks like it's been put in by a program somewhere, lets any program listen to 9009, and any address as well, so any IP address. So basically anyone in the world could send my computer a message, although they'd have to get through my router. That's a different story. So I'm going to leave this one there. Basically, we're looking for rules. They have a name, and then you can read the properties of them. So let's have a look, because there's some in here for Blender, which kind of looks good. Some of these have been turned off, because I guess it means that they're on. See, this is the domain profile, which isn't active right now. I think that's possibly why there isn't a tick next to it. So we've got Blender, private domain, which I believe is the one that's active. So we look, private network is active. Okay, so we're going to look at the private rules. So we've got Blender, private, it's enabled, yes. We're allowing income connections. It's not overridden. I'm not sure what that column does. Comment below if you do know what that means. The program is Blender, and any local or remote address, and we're allowing TCP on pretty much any port. Remote port as well, local port and remote port. There's no restriction on users or authorized computers. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but essentially we're looking at, is it enabled, and is it, sorry, bus going past in the background. Actually worse, that's a street sweeper. I'm gonna shut my window. Sorry about this, guys. Curse you, street sweeper! You ruined my stream. But you cleaned my streets, so I will forgive you. Because I can get over that pretty easily by shutting my window. It's not really a huge deal. Alright, I'm back. Oh no, sorry. I hit you. Well, actually I hit my tripod and that knocked the camera. So sorry if I just upset you there. Okay, back to what we're doing. So we've got some rules that look like they should work, but let's look at the details. So private, yes. Enabled, yes, it allows, there's no override, and the programs which are allowed to use this rule, so this is restricted to programs. So let's just say if I had, I don't know, Firefox open, this would not allow traffic to reach Firefox, for example, or choose whatever app. It only works for Blender. So if, let's just say if a message came in and it was targeting that port, if Firefox was trying to listen on ports under this rule, then it wouldn't work, because the operating system will not forward those packets through to Firefox. This is restricted by program, so there you go. Notice, however, that the program that's actually selected here is Blender 2.90. I was trying to run trying to run Blender 3. And what you notice here is that we've got rules for Blender on a whole bunch of different domains, a whole bunch of different profiles. Some of them are enabled, some of them are not. but there's nothing here for Blender 3.0. So if we go through all of these, none of them are for Blender 3.0. There's one for 3.1, but I wasn't running 3.1. So it looks like the problem we've got is, although there are some rules here for Blender to listen, sadly there is not one for Blender 3.0. So to fix this, we're going to have to add another rule. Now normally normally Windows will do this automatically when you start Blender and then install our add-on, and then as soon as you press the start button, so that would be, let's just look at what that looks like. Oh gosh, no, I don't want to start hardware info monitor. I just want to switch to Blender. So normally you would do the following steps. You would come into the add-ons property, the preferences section of Blender, into the add-ons tab, and you'd hit install. So you go find, let's say, the latest version. You would hit install, it would install, you would enable it by ticking this, and it would turn white. And then you'd come over to the Crowdrender panel, and then you would press start, and then this panel would actually turn into this. Without starting it, you just get a start button, and none of this other gubbins appears. You just get a button. And once you start it, you should get a pop-up of the operating system. Hey, Blender's asking to listen on these ports. Is that okay? And normally you would say yes. Now, I've noticed after installing this version and running Blender 3, that didn't happen this time. So there's a little glitch with the operating system somehow not bothering to notify you. And you can see here it's worked for all these other versions of Blender that I've installed. So now I have to go and do it manually, because it doesn't look like the operating system wants to give me that notification anymore, and I'm not 100% sure why. But we can actually go and do it. So what I'm going to do is, there is a button around here somewhere for a new rule. Here it is. So we're going to create a new rule and try and fix this problem. So what type of rule would you like to create? I want to restrict it to just a program, so we're going to use the program option. You can do it for a port or predefined or custom rule, but I'm going to take the easy route and just go through this wizard with program, because that makes the most sense. So I'm going to go find Blender 3 and give it the program. So Blender is usually installed on your C drive, it's installed in program files, Blender Foundation, and then Blender 3. And then find the application, click on it, and then press open. So all things being equal, we've now found the right program. And we're going to allow the connection. There are some other options. I mean, you could block it, but obviously that's not going to work. You can allow it if it's secure. And this only allows authenticated connections using IPsec. Don't use this if you're using Crowdrender, because it will not work, because we don't use IPsec. At least I don't think we do. And that may not be what you want. We are going to authenticate connections in our next big rewrite of the add-on which we're doing. So you won't necessarily need this, because we'll be authenticating connections ourselves. Okay, when does this rule apply? Now remember I talked about domains. When you plug in a network to your computer for the first time, it usually asks you, hey, is this a public network? Like, you know, you're on a Wi-Fi spot. So if you had a laptop and you went to a cafe, you should probably say this is a public network, and it tries to protect you a little bit more. That's my understanding of it. Again, comment below if you think I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. It's the best way to learn, I've found. Say something on the internet and just watch everyone try and correct you. You learn pretty fast. Sometimes it's a painful experience, but heck, it works. But anyway, a public network is something, you can see like the little coffee cups, you know, hints that you go to the local cafe, you're using a public access point, you don't know who else is on that network, so you probably want it to be more restrictive to prevent people from trying to attack your computer, because they will actually be connected to the same network. If you have a private network, a hacker has the job of first being able to connect to that network, because they need to know things like your Wi-Fi password to get on there, or they have to hack the Wi-Fi system first. So usually if you're at home, you choose a private network, which just makes things a bit easier for configuring apps like ours that do need a little bit less aggressive security. And then domain is like you're at work, where you know they've set up a particular, like a Active Directory system for Windows, or you know some kind of domain controller is in use. This is very sort of, you know, corporate IT kind of stuff. So if you're at home with your own homebrew situation, building your own render farm, then the main network is probably not what you want, unless you know what you're doing and you've actually set that up intentionally. So now we know which one of these we want to apply to. We could just apply it to all of them, or we could apply it just to private, but I'm just going to be lazy and leave it to all of them. And I'm going to say, okay, this is Blender 3.0 description. Actually, I probably should give it a Crowdrender. Allow this computer to act as a server / render node for Crowdrender. That's actually what we're doing. If we don't let this computer, this PC here, listen, then we can't use it to render. As you've already seen, we can't get a connection. So I'm just going to click finish. Then we should find, where is that rule? Oh gosh, where did it go? Okay, it's at the top there. Alright, so I guess we give this a go. This will be fun because I'm doing this live, by the way. I have not done a pre-run of this. So here goes. Let's now see if we can actually do this. So I'm coming back onto the Mac. Just let you guys see what I see. So we're back on the Macintosh now. And I'm going to click, oops, just let it resize the screen. Let's see what, oh great, it crashed. That's another issue I'm working on, by the way. This has bitten me once before today, so let me just back up and try that one again. It's always nice when you fail loud and publicly. But just to let you know, this is life sometimes. It does not give you what you want, not by any stretch of the imagination. Alright, James, shutting up, resetting. So I'm going to kill all the background processes. One of the things that can really bite you in the backside is when Blender crashes, it won't shut down the background process which we use as part of our system, and then when you come to try and start it up again, yeah, things don't work. So always make sure you open Activity Monitor, Task Manager, Process Monitor based on what operating system on, use the appropriate one, and shut those processes down. Incidentally, this crash happens because, well, it's a couple of things. Blender has changed how saving works. So what happens when you connect to another computer, Blender's actually saving a copy. Well, no, we are causing Blender to save a copy of its file. Now, what Blender is doing at the moment is it's redrawing the interface without any of the any extra windows or panels visible or menus open. So it tries to close all of those so that you just get a snapshot of what your viewport looks like, so that it can generate a thumbnail showing you what Blender looked like when you saved the file. So when you come back later, rather than just having all Blender files just with the Blender icon, you can see, oh, that was that scene I was working on, just in case you prefer using an image in your head rather than a file name. And it's a very cool feature, but unfortunately, because it's trying to close a whole bunch of windows, it seems to have introduced the potential for a crash. Because when we save the blend file, we're doing it not from a menu, we're doing it from script. And that seems to have caused this crash to happen. So we're going to work with Blender to try and fix this. We're sorry it's happening. It's a little bit of random at the moment. And it will happen to you at some point. But just know that, yes, we do know about it. We're doing our best to try and fix it. All right. Back to the main problem that we're trying to fix at the moment, which is I'm going to add that computer back, so I'm going to call it Ryzen Ninja, and that's the host name of this PC over here. If you don't know what host name is, I'll show you how to find that. It's pretty easy on PC. In fact, why don't I do that now? Actually, no, I'll connect to it first, and if it's successful. Alright, let's try again. And it crashed again. Oh wow, this is turning into an absolute perler. Okay, what I might try doing is I might try turning off this feature where it does the thumbnails. If I can, because I don't necessarily use it. I prefer file names, I'm fine with that. It just seems to be pretty crashy at the moment, which is not ideal. Let's face it, no one likes, stuff to crash all the time. Okay, so we're back. Now let's go into preferences and see if we can turn this thing off. I'm hoping there is actually a setting for it. I'm guessing it would be in save and load. File preview type. None. What type of blend view preview to create? So we're not going to ask for a preview to be created. Now there's no guarantee that this will actually work, mainly because asking for no preview to be created doesn't mean it won't run the code that crashes. So I guess we're about to find out. And also this crash is somewhat random. It seems to be pretty reliable at the moment, so I'm not even sure if it's fixed when this works, we hope. Okay, that worked. And there we go. We've now got the computer to connect. So we've at least solved the problem of not being able to connect due to Windows doing this strange thing where normally it would ask you, hey, is it okay if this particular program listens for incoming connections? Okay. And ignore this, this is just for the previous crash. It's just Mac going, would you like to report this problem? So recapping, what we had is a problem with Windows, and this is going to happen to you if you've installed previous versions of Blender with Crowdrender. So let's just say you've gone from 3 to 3.1. There's a chance that Blender's not going to notify you, hey, this is a different program. It's not the same one as before. Like you had Blender 3 and we set that up and we gave you the notification that said, do you want to let it listen? You said yes, and we remembered that. That doesn't apply to Blender 3.1. Blender 3.1 is a different program, so it won't automatically carry that rule over. You have to allow it again. And if Windows for some reason doesn't show you that window, which this is what happened to me and I'm assuming it happens to you, then you need to do what I've just done and put the manual rule into your firewall. So hopefully this helps you guys get around the connection issue. I also said I was going to show you something and my mind has just forgotten what it was, so apologies. I may do that in a follow-up video. I've just noticed though I've got a resync issue, so a synchronization issue. So if this happens, a quick fix for it is just to press the resync button while we work on solving that, because we've got a completely new system which Jeremy's developing, coming out probably middle of the year to later on in the year, depending on what happens. Poor Jeremy's had to move house. His landlord decided to sell the apartment he's living in, so he's going to have a little bit of downtime while we help him move and find a new place. So that's a bit of a distraction, but these things happen. Hopefully it's not going to knock us off track too much. Okay, that's pretty much it in terms of the content of this video. So look, if we're doing a good job, please give us a thumbs up and likes and subscribes and all the rest of it, or share this video with other people, because I'm sure there's more than one person that's gotten bitten by this. We're going to obviously do our best to sort of promulgate this around so that everyone can benefit from, you know, learning a little bit more about your operating system and how it works. And it's also taught us that maybe we should automatically try to put these things into the firewall so that you guys don't have to deal with it. Although there is also the sort of tricky question of whether we should mess with your firewall. So I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. I'm off now to sort of finish this video off, give it a thumbnail and do all the rest of it. So that's enough of me chapping on. See you in the next one, I guess. Bye. See ya. Stop streaming.